What matters is Biden had all of the power to facilitate a ceasefire for 15 months. And he saw all of the baby murder. He saw all of the children being murdered. He saw the entirety. He saw the entirety of the Gaza Strip eviscerated, gutted with American weapons. And he said, $8 more billion, please, to the baby murder machine. That's it. You don't have to give credit to Biden or Trump. Wait, what? Yes, I will give credit where credit is due. If you want my analysis to be correct, then it's gonna, there is gonna be credit being offered to Donald Trump. That's what dog should take. He literally said he's going to allow Israel to fight Palestine. In the same breath, he took accountability for the ceasefire. Anyway, we'll continue. We'll talk about it as well. All right, where are we? Where were we? I'm already annoyed. Okay, I just got started, and I'm already annoyed with everyone. Does Demasius have a playlist or not? Because if not, I'm just gonna, I'm already blasting off, okay? I'm already blasting off. Here it is. Where is it? Where is it? Where's my blast off? Oh, here it is. No credit Israel's dome of Gaza. Anyway, Israel's a wasteland. What? They have the West Bank to take over now? Okay. We'll get to the live coverage as well. We'll start off with Al Jazeera. There are already celebrations taking place on the streets.
Hours turned this whole area into a stage of celebration, something that we're not used to see as early hour of this morning. And what we see in the past days, this area here at the hospital used to be a stage for funerals for bodies that are killed and brought to the hospital, much of it filled with agony and sadness. But the past couple hours have been particularly different, more of an expression of much of the feelings that have been suppressed for the past 15 months. And without going into the details of the terms, people came together and got in groups here celebrating, whether in the hospital or in the streets on 10 sites across the Gaza Strip and further in the northern part of the Strip in Al-Mawasi.
Damn, my guy would have given Reagan credit for releasing the Iranian hostages. I think the thing that you don't understand in that process is that even if there was incompetence, you're talking about a foreign adversary, not stopping a foreign ally. Okay, Joe Biden had the opportunity to do this with one phone call. I talked about this virtually every single day for 15 months. That Joe Biden can stop this today. He can stop it tomorrow. He can stop it yesterday. He chose not to do so. Do you understand? He chose not to do so. Israel was the party that was responsible for refusing to recognize the conditions set forth by Hamas early on, the conditions that Joe Biden represented as the conditions that Israel had placed on the ceasefire negotiations on July 2nd. And the deal that is in place right now is virtually identical to those deals. There have been more than 30 different instances where Hamas tried to facilitate a ceasefire. Israel refused it every step of the way. Joe Biden made it seem as though Israel was not the actual responsible party for refusing to deal with the ceasefire, and it was actually Hamas that was ruining it. And that's what's crazy about the situation, because Joe Biden had virtually every moment, every opportunity, all the power, all the cards to stop this by forcing Israel to meet his demands. And for a lot of liberals, I think this is impossible to contend with. Okay, giving Donald Trump the opportunity to take credit for the ceasefire is entirely in the hands of Joe Biden. Okay, that's it. It is entirely in the hands of Joe Biden. If you think, that Trump, additional pressure from Trump, and the whole like cut it out narrative that Trump applied in this situation, or maybe even a secret side deal that he cut with Benjamin Netanyahu, which will inevitably lead to possibly infinitely more bloodshed down the line, which I do believe he did. Okay. But if you think that Donald Trump was not the mover and shaker in this circumstance, and it was Biden, and he just like simply couldn't facilitate this for 15 whole months and was able to do so in the last second, you're out of your mind. Here it is. A diplomat briefed on the ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas credited progress in the talks in part to the influence of President-elect Donald Trump, saying it was the first time there has been real pressure on the Israeli side to accept a deal. Who was ruining the deal? Who was refusing to abide by the deal? Was it Hamas? Was there more pressure necessary on Hamas? Was that the case, chatters? Did you learn nothing from my coverage for the past 15 months on this? Is that you didn't hear anything? You just went la 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 la, can't hear you? No, Biden kept lying over and over again. Anthony Blinken kept lying over and over again throughout the entire process. There are numerous instances where I continuously showed you over and over again that Anthony Blinken would go on tour and openly state that it was actually Hamas that was a spoiler of the deal. It was actually not Israel that was a spoiler of the deal. It was Hamas. When we could see with our own two eyes who was actually spoiling the deal. So one must ask the question, why was Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden actively defending the Israeli side of the conversation? And why is everyone saying Trump pressured Netanyahu? Come on, man. Y'all are out of your goddamn minds if you think that the Biden administration finally packed this up. 2 weeks ago, Biden gave $8 billion of arms to Israel. 2 weeks ago. Not even, January 3rd, working tirelessly around the clock for a ceasefire. I guess you genuinely believe that when they were saying it. Yeah. The grossest side of this process is that Biden had all of the power. He is the president of the United States of America. He could have done this. He could have done this day one. He could have done this early October 2023. He could have done it in November. Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden actively sabotaged the peace talks, the ceasefire talks, and defended the Israeli side by lying to the public. Here it is. Blinken apparently tanks ceasefire negotiations by fabricating a story to make Netanyahu look good. One of the many lies the Biden-Harris admin told to shield Israel from criticism. This is from the Times of Israel reporting from a couple months back. He pointed to a meeting Blinken held with Netanyahu in August, after which the secretary announced that the Israeli premier had accepted a U.S. bridging proposal for a hostage deal. The Arab official, along with a member of Israel's negotiation team, told the Times of Israel that this was empathetically not what had unfolded in the meeting, and that Blinken's comments had thrown a major wrench in that round of talks, which ultimately fell apart. How many times do I have to show you the receipts? I mean, I was there. I was covering it in real time. If Democrats knew, this was a funny tweet from Ryan. If Democrats knew that losing the election might lead to a ceasefire in Gaza, they'd have fought harder to win. Yeah. Credit where credit is due. Okay. The Teflon Don, he did it. The mad lad. He did it with a goddamn real estate developer he golfs with too. That is how much power America has over Israel and not vice versa. Okay. It's all a matter of who holds the cards. It's all a matter of actually pulling the levers of power if necessary, whether it is because you have a grander ambition for the region, a larger design for the region down the line, because you got $100 million from Miriam Adelson to permanently annex the West Bank, or whether it's because you want to look good for your inauguration, or whether because you're a major Nixon head or a Reagan head and you really wanted to do exactly what they did back in the day, because you have this tendency to relitigate to reinstate old historical wounds of the Democratic Party in the way that famous Republicans have in the past. I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is Biden had all of the power to facilitate a ceasefire for 15 months. And he saw all of the baby murder. He saw all of the children being murdered. He saw the entirety. He saw the entirety of the Gaza Strip eviscerated, gutted with American weapons. And he said, $8 more billion, please, to the baby murder machine. So yeah, on this day, we celebrate. We celebrate what is to come, even if I am skeptical of the future. Okay, even if I worry about the future. But on this day, I will say,
may Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States. May Allah awaken the people.
That's right, baby. That's right. Yeah. Don't we have guests? We do, but it's okay.
To see the evil doings of Israel and the United States. May Allah awaken.
That's the Don right there, Teflon Don. He said, he woke up one day and said, Allah is awakening the people. You look like the median voter right now. I am. I'm the median voter currently in this moment. In this moment, I've been the closest to a median voter as I ever have been. Okay. Really in your face for the ceasefire to take effect on January 19th, Biden's last full day in office, his administration will have maintained its commitment to Israel's genocidal war in Palestine until the very end. Yeah. How about when Trump sanctions the ICC into the ground to protect Netanyahu? You're still going to sing his praises? If you think that I don't recognize that, and if you think that I think Trump is in any way, shape, or form pro-Palestine, you are out of your mind. Okay? I like that everyone's position immediately in this instance is to act like the Democrats haven't been doing that already under Democratic leadership. What are you talking about? The Democrats have, alongside the Republican Party, already started the process. So what are you talking about? You know what they didn't do, though? Facilitate a ceasefire. So shut up. There is no defense for the Democratic Party on this day. There is no defense. It's just untrue. You want something. You can be critical of Donald Trump. You can shit on Donald Trump, and I certainly will for the rest of this day. Okay? But in this very moment, if you are reaching so far and wide that you make it seem as though Joe Biden had anything to do with this, aside from routinely allowing Israel to just do whatever it wanted over and over and over and over again, you're out of your mind. Anyway, yeah, remember the ceasefire button was a youthful TikTok fantasy. Here's Matthew Iglesias. I'm out of touch with the youth, but my sense is that there are now millions of pseudo-informed people gassed up on TikToks and Instagram Reels who believe there's some kind of permanent ceasefire button in the Oval Office that Biden is perversely refusing to press. So what happened? What happened? Did Trump find the button? Was it next to the Diet Coke button? What happened? How do we hit the button? It seems like there was a button. Everyone kept saying, Hasan, you are so childish. You are so childish for making it seem as though this is just a simple phone call away. A ceasefire is a simple phone call to Israel, okay? Not to Hamas. No applying pressure to Hamas. Like they're literally, Israel is genociding the Gaza Strip. What more pressure can you do than genociding an entire area where 2 million people once lived? That's it. You've maxed out on the pressure. Ridiculous. By the way, make no mistake. If Donald Trump also, just take photos is correct. If Trump is also able to overturn the TikTok ban too, oh my God, dude. It's an endless faucet of pro-Trump sentiment coming from, Trump is going to give the Republican Party the Reagan advantage for generations to come. Okay. And there is no liberal counter. There is no institutional counter to any of this stuff. He's just taking advantage of the ginormous failures, the patently and roundly panned awful decision making of the Democratic Party to make himself look good. The button was Bibi's candidate of choice for winning. You're out of your mind, dude. Benjamin Netanyahu has no say in this process. Okay, all they can do is try and undermine American interests in the region. But at the end of the day, if America's like, oh, yeah, you're going to continue killing people, even though I want you to do the ceasefire. OK, how about no more weapons? What's going to happen when they don't get Tamir interceptors, dude? What do you think would happen if American cruisers and aircraft carriers in the region go, OK, we're turning around then? What do you think happens to Israel then? What do you think happens to Israel without the 2,000-pound bombs that we were consistently sending to Israel as they kept literally running out of ammunition because they dropped multiple nukes worth of munitions on Gaza? What do you think would happen to Israel if America was like, all right, we're not protecting you anymore then? Are you out of your mind? What is the Iron Dome without Tamir interceptors? It's nothing. There is no world where Israel gets to do what it's doing without, and every step of the way, America saying, yeah, we love this. Keep going. We love it a lot, actually. Okay, we love it so much. Yeah, the Iron Dome without interceptors is an umbrella. It's not even an umbrella. It doesn't stop anything. The reality is the reason why nothing has happened for the whole time Biden was in power is because he's completely disabled. My friend is an intern in DC and young people are to talk. No, I mean, Biden's ineptitude aside, like they wanted this. The Democrats as a administration wanted this to continue. Okay, the narrative for hogs is now Trump is just better at applying pressure. I mean, is it wrong? Is that wrong? Is that the wrong narrative? No, the real narrative is there's a button that must have been pressed somewhere along the line, And Trump was like, yeah, it's done. Okay, I'll give you whatever you want later down the line, but just cut this out right now. That's what I think. Okay, in this brief moment, there is a moment of solace here, and there will most likely be a tremendous amount of pain that comes later down the line. Okay, but ultimately, is it false? Is it false that Donald Trump, even when he wasn't president, was able to literally facilitate by applying pressure to Israel? Is it wrong? It's not. You got so much information coming out of the Biden White House where they actively told Israel, yeah, go in Lebanon. It's great. We love it. You know, keep going. And even if you don't have insider information, you have outsider eyes to look at the situation. Every day, there's another report of Biden being like, oh, I'm so angry with Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's another $8 billion of weapons, sir. That's crazy. Great, though. It seems like the same media apparatus that actively defended Israel's genocidal ambitions is now trying to reframe the narrative in an effort to give Biden credit 5 days before he leaves office, when he very clearly, openly and openly kept lying at the behest of Israel over and over and over again. And it's great. It's great. You want to know why? Because people already don't trust mainstream media. Now they're going to go, what the f are you talking about? We have eyes. We have ears. We have a brain. I can see what Biden did for the past 15 months. Do you think Trump gets credit? I mean, Trump is going to get credit regardless. He's going to get credit from, obviously, every single outlet on the right. That's number one. And this is a credit-worthy moment, okay? And last but not least, I think that for many people that have noticed what is going on, many people that are aware of what's happening, people are going to despise Biden for coming out and saying like, no, we did this. We finally did this, Jack. Okay. Ridiculous narrative. Shocking.
Will hold. I'm confident. Thank you.
Folks, credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
What is this? What's going on in Los Angeles will become fairly common in years to come unless the global community comes together, change our energy systems, and take on lies. Anyway, you're talking to people that did not give a shred of a damn about the genocide they spent this year telling anyone who's pro-Palestine to shut the f up, never looked into it, so they think they can just make stuff up as an argument for Biden's legacy. F Biden's legacy. His legacy is one of genocide. Okay? Does this mean the no new wars narrative is real? No, it's not. I mean, you guys understand, like, every single thing that has unfolded so far is exactly what I told you is going to happen. Right? Like, this is not unexpected unless you weren't listening to what I was saying this entire time. I told you, I warned the Democratic Party when the election was happening that Donald Trump is going to cut a side deal with Benjamin Netanyahu. You have the power to end this now. Use it. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. I called this for months. I said this was going to happen. This exact same thing that is happening, I said is going to happen, and it's happening to a T. Down to the wire. It is a one-to-one almost comparison of exactly what I said was going to happen. How is this shocking to anyone in this community? You guys just like plug your ears and close your eyes when I'm doing commentary on this? I've been saying this is going to happen for months. And now that it has, people still turn around and go, oh, I don't know about that. Now, it's not fully done anyway. Netanyahu says the Hamas folded on the dispute over the Philadelphia corridor, but as the several items in the framework have yet to be finalized, we hope the details will be finalized tonight. Yeah. Liberals in the chat trying to say this guy was actually the principal negotiator.
More than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th.
I'm just going to run that again just so because you didn't.
More than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th.
Hezbollah on October the 7th did a brutal massacre? You think that guy did the ceasefire? That guy, he just remembered he had the power 5 days before he's out? What kind of ridiculous false reality are we living in where people even like entertain the notion that this is competent leadership in display. Of course, liberals are going to lose permanently and forever. You are making the most reactionary, stupid, look sane when you try to literally justify anything that you're seeing here. Anything. Like it's QAnon. This is QAnon, okay? There is no difference functionally between trying to say Biden is a competent leader and he really tried really hard to facilitate a ceasefire, even though all evidence points to the direct contrary, okay? And he finally did it 5 days before his administration ended. The foreign policy genius, like, to me, running with that narrative is unironically no different than QAnon, being a QAnon supporter, thinking that there is like, he also said he spoke to the Emir of Kuwait to thank him for the ceasefire deal when he was, oh God, it was the Emir of Qatar. Oh my God. He doesn't have a PhD in foreign policy, chat. He's just that good. This is Twitch liberals right now. Most vindicated image in political history. Okay, smart guy, let's see you take a crack at it. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it turns out someone else did take a crack at it, dude. I mean, I covered this yesterday. Even the flex mode that, like, the fact that Donald Trump used a random real estate developer that he golfs with to be his envoy, to be his voice in the room. The fact that his envoy, his voice in the room, told Benjamin Netanyahu, I don't give a f about Shabbat, like, and forced him to talk on a Saturday. These are aesthetic moves that is exactly in line with the way that Donald Trump plays hardball, okay? Like, straight up. He did that deliberately. That is supposed to, that right there, him not sending like a serious serious person within his cabinet and tasking a random real estate developer that he golfs with to be the guy is already disrespectful. That's number one. Okay? It's a way to reassert dominance. It's a way to show who's in charge here. Okay? That's number one. Number two, the fact that that guy was also actively being like, yeah, I don't care. You're going to work on Saturday. I don't give a shit. Like, that is disrespectful. That is incredibly disrespectful. Okay? But that kind of disrespect is exactly the way that Donald Trump, like a shitty real estate developer, would cut side deals. You know what I mean? To play hardball. This is why he won. Yeah, he did. Matthew Miller. Miller says the ceasefire was conceived by this administration, and admin officials traveled the world to garner support for. Miller says this proposal dates to late May, and Biden went around the world getting support for it, which left Hamas isolated and alone. In fact, Hamas accepted the terms in May and again in July. They're still lying about it. That's what's crazy. Like, this is Hamas's proposal from May, and they're still actively lying to defend Israel after Benjamin Netanyahu fucked Joe Biden. Okay? Think about that. Like, even if you don't think Trump applied pressure, Benjamin Netanyahu actively fucked over Joe Biden, okay? Actively. He was like, yeah, I'm not going to play ball. I'm not going to play ball. I'm not going to play ball at all, okay? And they're still defending Israel to the last second of power. That is crazy. State Department briefing. The first is mid-December, just started. Matt Miller is excitedly talking about normalizing relations with Saudi Arabia since there's now a ceasefire. So it wasn't Biden then, but mainly Netanyahu. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Of course it was Biden. Biden holds all the cards. Biden controls the levers of power. We are the American government. Okay? What are you saying? Biden's incompetence in this process doesn't change the dynamic, doesn't change the power that he has, doesn't change that, like, the people in his inner circle actively wanted this to happen, okay? Actively wanted this genocide to continue. That's it. That's it. Biden loves genocide. Make no mistake. He loved it, okay? He loved every moment of it, and luckily for him, it is going to continue until the last day that he's in office, okay? The Democrats alongside Biden also loved it, okay? They did. Seemingly they did. They didn't do enough about it. They didn't do anything about it. They applied zero pressure. There were a couple Democrats who did, and that's it. And they were cast aside. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. If you expect me to just sit here and lie to you and act like Biden actually did this last-ditch effort to finally press the Netanyahu government, that's ridiculous. It's not going to, like, you want me to lie to you. You know what I mean? You want me to actively lie to you to feel better. Okay, I get it. I hate Donald Trump. So I understand why in this very moment you're like, well, still, maybe it wasn't. Why are you giving credit to Trump? It's like giving credit to Reagan. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you giving credit to Trump? He cut a side deal with Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay. Whose fault is it that the genocide continued in that process? Who's doubly at fault here for allowing this to be an election defeating issue? It's Biden. It's Biden and the rest of the Democratic Party and those in positions of power who had every opportunity to stop what was going on, even when it was electorally beneficial, even when it was the moral thing to do, even when it was the right thing to do, and they chose not to do it. Make no mistake. That's it. There's no way out of there's no way out of this situation logically. Like, think about it logically. Think about what you're saying. Okay? Think about what you're defending in this process. I tweeted this a couple days ago. Okay? I said, I guess Trump is an infinitely better statesman than the foreign policy genius Biden. Or maybe Biden wanted to continue killing Palestinian children so bad, he was willing to throw the election away. And now for $100 million, Trump will likely allow the permanent annexation of West Bank. So what is it? Is it that Trump is a better deal maker? Or what was it that Biden just couldn't do this for 15 months and simply got himself ready to muster up the courage to finally do what's right? Is that what you think? Hasan, definitely a CIA operative. It gets more clear every day. Bro just ignores the Republicans unanimously support Israel for the last 4 years. Hasan, definitely a CIA operative. It gets more clear every day. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I am a CIA operative. That's right. I'm a part of the deep state, working to defend Donald Trump, actually. Yeah. Why am I a CIA operative? Because I'm criticizing the guy who defended Israel for the past 15 months as Israel continued to do a genocide. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. If you are oblivious to the reality of what unfolded for the past 15 months, and if you still choose at this very moment to give some semblance of support to a dying man who is a genocidal monster, Joe Biden, okay, as though he had any say in this process whatsoever, you will forever be blinded to the truth. You will always find yourself going, I wonder why. I wonder how I got things so wrong. And it's not like this was unexpected. This is something that I told you was going to happen. Okay? This is something that I told you was going to happen over and over again. Trump's greater ambitions for allowing Israel to absolutely destroy the West Bank and permanently annex it will most likely unfold later down the line. But they need a moment of respite, Israel, to rearm, resupply, okay? Try to rebuild the PR disaster of 15 months of genocide. Trump will offer them all of the assurances, all of the security, endless contracts, okay? And that is something that I'm very fearful of. They've attacked Jenin already today. They haven't stopped attacking Jenin. They haven't stopped attacking the West Bank. And they're most likely going to do a much larger push. They're most likely going to do a much larger push down the line when they have the actual capacity to do so. They got their shit pushed in Lebanon. Okay, the Israeli economy is on fire. They have to rebuild a little bit before they can make an active effort to permanently annex the West Bank. Trump is going to give them the bandwidth. I read this from Elon Pape this morning. Historically, I'm willing to say with some caution that this is the last phase of Zionism. Historically, such developments and ideological movements, whether they are colonials or empires, it's usually the final chapter that is the ruthless one, the most ambitious one, and then it's too much, and then they fall and collapse. Yes, Netanyahu had absolutely no respect for Biden. It doesn't matter if Netanyahu has no respect for Biden. I agree with you. He didn't, okay? He treated him like a fool, like a doddering old fool over and over and over again. But guess what? Biden has the power. Biden had the power every single day of the week. Biden had the power on October 8th to stop Israel. You understand that? None of the death and destruction would have taken place if Biden made a phone call and said, cut it out. He stopped it in 2021 with one singular phone call. as many presidents in the past have done so. If you think, like, this is the thing that is very frustrating to me, okay? Israel as a violent apartheid regime that is a settler colonial enterprise benefits America's interests in the region. That much is true, which is why Israel gets a lot of bandwidth in doing whatever it wants, and even sometimes actually undermining the American intelligence community, spying on Americans, spying on American diplomats, things of that nature. That's because there is a larger agenda there, okay? But a lot of people, I think, fall into this silly way of thinking where they think like, oh, well, Israel owns America. Like, no, Israel doesn't own America. America owns Israel. Israel is our weapon. Israel is our shield. Israel is our settler colony. We took it over from the British, and it's been ours in perpetuity, okay? The British started the process, and we took it over, and it's been ours. It's the 51st state for a reason. So the idea that, like, Biden was being made fun of and being bullied by Netanyahu and thinking that that has any sort of play here, aside from reasserting the idiotic nature of Joseph Robinette Brandon, is so stupid. It's false. It's false thinking. Want to remind everyone that the majority of Americans think Israel's committing a genocide. Overwhelming majorities want a permanent ceasefire, and it could have been done with a 10-minute phone call from the White House that ends with no more weapons till you listen. I said this on August 7th, 2024, a month after Biden came out and lied and said this is Israel's own deal. Israel refused to sign the deal. Scahill said today that the Trump won the ceasefire narrative is true, but it also shouldn't be overstated, as it also works to give Netanyahu domestic political coverage with it being so unpopular. What do you think about that? It doesn't matter. I'm not covering this from like the Israeli side of things. Benjamin Netanyahu is self-interested. And part of the reason why he probably did this is because he truly believes that Trump has his back. Okay? Hold on. Anyway, I know Bernie gave me a shout out. I know. I'm not gonna cover that right now. We're covering something else. Did Twitter just go down? What is going on? My Twitter is busted right now. Yeah. Here, I want to show you two different things as well that make no sense in terms of like the way that Biden and Kamala Harris operated. Look at this. Number one, adults' historical rating of U.S. presidents. How do you think each of the following presidents will go down in history as an outstanding president, above average, average, below average, or poor? 37% said poor about Joseph Robinette Brandon. The lowest, the number one at the, it has the highest level of disapproval, okay? And the second highest net positive or disapproval, net negative approval rating. After, well, I guess the third, technically wrong. Or no, that's positive. What am I saying? It's the second lowest, basically trying to compete with Richard Nixon. And the only reason why Nixon actually ended up defeating Biden in that equation of historic levels of unpopularity is not because of his net disapprovals, or not net, sorry, his disapproval rating. It's because of the fact that there were very few people, there were less people that were saying he was doing a good job. Anyway, are you going to play Dummy Falastini? I already did. New poll. Is clear Harris lost a lot of votes because of Biden's admin support for Israel's genocide. Our poll out today with YouGov finds Biden 2020 voters who did not vote for Harris name ending Israel's violence in Gaza as the top issue affecting their choice to vote. Oh, wow. That's shocking. Even higher than the economy. 29%. When Biden 2020 voters who do not vote for Harris in 2024 were asked which one of the following issues was most important in deciding your vote, they selected ending Israel's violence in Gaza. The second most important was the economy. Third most important was Medicare and Social Security. This issue played a key role in battleground states as well. Across 6 battleground states that flipped from Biden and Trump, 20% of these voters said ending Israel's violence in Gaza was their top issue. The second most cited reason behind only the economy. Remember that. And I showed you 30 plus polls on this matter throughout the election. And I begged people to listen, and no one did. And here we are, and people are still trying to play catch up and you know, actively make it seem like the reality that unfolded in front of your eyes is actually not real. I don't know why it's so hard for a lot of chatters to comprehend that, like, Biden wanted to ride Israel's dick so hard that he would die on it, okay? He wanted to die on that penis. That's it. And he killed the Democratic Party's chances of thwarting the second Fourth Reich installation in the United States of America. That's it. Here we are. Here we fucking are, dude. And people are still trying to actively make it seem as though he did a fantastic job here. It's crazy. There's going to be additional battles here with allowing third-party investigators into and NGOs into Gaza. Israel's going to try to stop that. Donald Trump is probably going to play a role in not allowing that to happen. Okay, there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more violence to come. There's going to be a lot more hatred and awfulness to come out of this process. I do not for a second believe that Donald Trump is in any way, shape, or form invested in the defense of Palestinians. But make no mistake, that doesn't mean that Joe Biden was in any way, shape, or form invested in the defense of Palestinians either. None of them are. Of course, the only judge that ruled for Israel gets to be the next president of the ICJ. Oh, great. Major shift at the ICJ as pro-Israel judge poised for presidency. Great stuff. This is why I'm so frustrated, because Palestinians have no allies in any of these institutions. None whatsoever. The only ally the Palestinians have is the truth, okay? The only ally the Palestinians have is morality. And that's what's crazy about it, because these institutions are deeply immoral. It's a terrifying predicament. Even if this was Biden's ceasefire, the idea that he will be remembered for this and not for how long he let the genocide go on is a liberal fantasy. He had the ability to get this exact deal through at least 8 months ago. Could have done something else even earlier. Also, normies are never going to see this as a Biden's deal. They'll see it as Trump's deal if they remember it at all. Yeah, good threads on some initial thoughts on the ceasefire from Yusuf Munayer. A few thoughts on the ceasefire agreement which seems to be reached, perhaps even announced from Doha in the coming hour. Thank God. The 2 million people in Gaza who have paid the highest price over the last 15 months desperately need this evil genocide to come to an end. From mass killing to starvation to ethnic cleansing and displacement, what they have endured is not something anyone should have to endure. The world has failed them time and time again, and we must hang our heads in shame for these failures before them. The effects of this genocide over the last 15 months, and let's hope the bombs stop permanently now, will still be killing Palestinians for years to come. From unexploded ordnance to the destruction of the health system, the cancer-causing poison that has saturated Gaza's landscape from Israeli bombs. The mass killing of Palestinians is likely to continue even if it shifts forms. It is also highly likely that Israel will continue to bomb Gaza after the ceasefire agreement, just as it did in Lebanon. The exchanges make this a little different, but constant monitoring from the guarantors will be needed to ensure it doesn't just continue after or during phase one of the exchange. From the U.S. end, the enforcement will come from the Trump admin, so we will see how that goes. Months ago, since the 7th of October, the Biden administration and Netanyahu have been navigating a process of finding out how to swallow the failures of that day, and their only answer has been to attempt to wash it away with ever more Palestinian blood. This didn't work despite their best efforts, though Netanyahu, for now, is in a more secure political place than he was in late 2023. That is the main reason we are seeing a deal be agreed to by Israel, even as Palestinians have been offering an exchange and calling for a ceasefire since October 2023. Netanyahu and Trump would like to make it seem like the ceasefire is a product of Trump's magic, but it is primarily a product of Israel's failures on the ground. Their military has succeeded in destroying Gaza and civilian life, but Hamas's numbers, according to Blinken yesterday, haven't changed much, which is the least shocking thing of all time. After 15 months, this is exactly what happened with the Taliban too. After 15 months, the Israeli military was still taking losses in towns they cleaned multiple times. In the process, the Israeli military probably killed numerous Israeli hostages. Since Hamas has been long willing to make an exchange deal since October 2023, 9th of October 2023 is the first time that they were like, don't go into the Gaza Strip and we'll release all the hostages and give us a port and release Palestinian prisoners. Some shape or form of this ceasefire negotiation that has been implemented has been pushed by the Hamas side since October 9th. Okay, straight up. 30 plus times they put forth a deal for a ceasefire that looked almost identical to the ceasefire deal that is in front of us now. They could make a deal when they were ready to say yes, so they played it out alongside American politics and delivered this little victory to Trump while thoroughly embarrassing Biden, who has done everything possible to suck up to the Israelis anyway, even if it meant losing the White House to Trump. He will truly go down as the worst president in U.S. history. Netanyahu knows this round has run its time out, and he's hoping to cash in his credit with Trump, whom he will have less leverage over in the short term to continue his theocratic expansionist dreams in the West Bank, Lebanon, and Syria. While the pace of killing will hopefully slow in Gaza, Israel will likely escalate and extend its violence elsewhere. Do not take your eyes off Palestine. This is precisely what Netanyahu was counting on. Exactly. Haaretz is reporting that Netanyahu is already starting to sabotage the deal. Netanyahu's deal with Smotrich means abandoning 65 hostages in Gaza. Haaretz's Zvi Barel confirms the government has no intention of transitioning to phase 2. Breaking. Netanyahu promised to keep Smotrich include explicit commitment to resume the war after phase 1 until Hamas defeat, change combat conditions including heavier weapons, limiting humanitarian aid, annexing territory, and encouraging immigration. So they want to settle northern Gaza. That has been their primary purpose of this, okay? That's what they want to do. That's what Bezalel Smotrich wants to do. That's what Itamar Ben-Gvir wants to do. And he's giving them assurances. Now, having said that, if this translates to some kind of retaliation, encouraging immigration, forced displacement. Yeah, encouraging immigration both from the settler side and forced displacement for the Palestinians. This is what I predicted would happen in my 2024 predictions. If you recall, it just took an extra year. It didn't happen in the year 2024, but basically that is their grand ambition in 2025. They ultimately want the entirety of the Gaza Strip. They want they want mass ethnic displacement in the Gaza Strip, and to basically completely repopulate it. Now that is the far right of the cabinet that is filled to the brim with far right individuals. Regardless, like the Likudnik are also obviously far right. Anyway, I am still fearful that fearful that they will drop they will drop this deal. But I think that makes Trump look bad, and Trump cares about the way he looks, especially if like people care about what's going on in Palestine right now. When eyes are on the prize, like Trump wants a gift for his inauguration, basically. It sounds stupid. It sounds silly. But I'm sure he's made side assurances to Benjamin Netanyahu that he will protect Benjamin Netanyahu. But ultimately, he has the power. Yeah. I said Bibi would give Trump an optics win at first and then go harder. Exactly. But that means there must be an optics win in the interim, in the short term. And if if Benjamin Netanyahu keeps pummeling Gaza in the interim, in the short term, that doesn't give Trump the optics win. And I told you this down to the minutia, like down to the very last detail. This is what I said is most likely going to take place. So far, that is seemingly what is likely taking place. Do I think anyone from the State Department will get legal recourse? No. Anyway.
On his Truth Social. This epic ceasefire agreement could only have happened as a result of our historic victory in November, as it signaled to the entire world that my administration would seek peace and negotiate deals to ensure the safety of all Americans and our allies. I am thrilled American and Israeli hostages will be returned. Didn't
you say you'd praise Trump if he had a hand in this? I did. I gave him I wore the Trump hat. Everyone got mad at me. Yes, I said that. I also said that Donald Trump is not going to end the apartheid. In a conversation with Bradley Martin, if you remember, I told him that there might be some semblance of a ceasefire negotiation, and I will give him credit where credit is due if he facilitates this, because at the end of the day, I want there to be a ceasefire. I want the Palestinians to no longer be murdered in the way that they have been for the past 15 months. Okay, and that I will give credit where credit is due. Having said that, however, I don't think Trump is going to end the apartheid, and he certainly will not. If you think that he will, well, you're delusional.
Returning home to be reunited with their families and loved ones. With this deal in place, my national security team, through the efforts of Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, will continue to work closely with Israel and our allies to make sure Gaza never, all caps, again becomes a terrorist safe haven. We will continue promoting, again, all caps, peace through strength throughout the region as we build upon the momentum of the ceasefire to further expand the historic Abraham Accords. This is only the beginning of great things to come in America and indeed the world. We have achieved so much without even being in the White House. Just imagine all the wonderful things that will happen when I return to the White House and my administration is fully confirmed so they can secure more victories to the United States. Before we go to our next guest, I want to ask to hear from potentially the incoming Secretary of State at his very own hearing today, was asked about Gaza and the war there. Let's watch Marco Rubio.
Why is acknowledging the facts of what happened considered glazing? Because people only look at things through this black and white dynamic, no matter how equipped they think they are with a materialist lens, with a materialist analysis. They just only see it as like good, bad dynamics. They see everything as a binary. And obviously Donald Trump is a monstrous piece of shit, but even monstrous piece of shit can sometimes do good things because it's beneficial to them. Okay? Or sometimes do good things in the interim so they can do horrible things later down the line when people aren't paying that much attention. Donald Trump's reinforcement of the Abraham Accords, okay, something that the Biden administration also continued, by the way, just so you understand, is in line with exactly what I'm saying. Okay? Donald Trump is going to further isolate Palestinians from every other regional actor. Donald Trump is going to continue the Biden administration's agenda of letting Israel do whatever it wants in the region to erode whatever resistance capabilities that Iran and Iranian proxies have. Okay? And then try to deliver a final blow, most likely to Iran. They have a grand design. Okay? Yeah, bro, pretend you are not super happy about what happened. You have the mental faculties of a sea cucumber. If you think that I am not celebrating, I did. And I do continue to give credit to Donald Trump for applying the pressure necessary in the short term. And I will continue criticizing the Democratic Party for refusing to apply this pressure, and actually change trajectory. Because I understand that the Democratic Party and the Republicans are in line when it comes to like operating like neocons do. The Democrats just did a better, the Democrats basically did a worse job overall, not a better job, but did a worse job overall of just like presenting it as like pure, straightforward neocon nonsense, parading Liz Cheney around. Try to do a I see you, I hear you nonsense. Oh, I see you, I hear you. But like the genocide must continue. I see you, I hear you, but the baby killing must go on. Okay, we are not satiated. Yeah, here is a drop site, more drop site coverage on this.
Became the president
with Mohammed Shahada, Jeremy Scahill, and Professor Sami Al-Aryan from Istanbul.
What's your assessment of how significant Trump's interventions have been since he became the president-elect?
Monumental. So until recently, mediators would tell me that everything would change if Biden would only name and shame Netanyahu, call him out publicly for rejecting and refusing the ceasefire repeatedly since year. So basically, everything that was changed is just Trump jumping in and doing that, nothing more. All he needed to do was just apply a little bit of pressure on Netanyahu and say, get a deal done. Netanyahu got it done immediately. Whereas for Biden, as a senior Arab diplomat put it recently to me, she said, Biden is just ideological. Trump is transactional. He's a businessman. Biden, his heart is in it. He's fully devoted to supporting Israel. And he sees any pressure on Israel as, quote, tainting his legacy. He wants his legacy to be the most pro-Israeli president there is ever. So he chose that legacy over Kamala Harris's chance or opportunity to win. Now with Trump, there is another dimension, as Dr. Sami mentioned, there's a transactional dimension that we don't know about yet. We know, of course, that Trump's pressure on Netanyahu sealed the deal. That is something that is undoubted. In the very last minutes of the negotiations, Netanyahu tried to maneuver, by insisting on a couple hundred meters of the buffer zone. So now it's 700 meters. He wanted it to be 900 instead. And then Steve Witkoff had to press him and get that compromise out of him, and other issues as well, without which a deal would have never been sort of completed. But on the other hand, we are getting reports from Israeli media that are saying that Trump gave Netanyahu a gift bag in return, and that gift bag includes a promise to allow Israel to violate the ceasefire and provide them with cover for it. So in other words, to resume the war in Gaza as soon as the first phase is completed, never going into phase 2, just getting 33 hostages out and then back to war again. The gift bag also reportedly includes lifting all Israeli settlers.
I agree with everything that Mohammed is saying here, by the way. Okay? Trump is no friend of the Palestinians. Make no mistake. Okay? Trump is no friend to the Palestinian people at all. And he is as good as an ally as Israel can ever get. Okay? So we shall see what happens. But in the interim period, remember, if you consider Joe Biden to somehow be better than Donald Trump, you have to remember that he had the power to do this months ago, a year ago. At any step in the process, he had the power to do this. Okay? And he chose not to. So functionally, there is no difference when genocide is ongoing. You are a genocidaire. And it's doubly messed up that you can turn around and give Israel's greatest ally another W in the Western world and another W in the eyes of the Palestinians as well. That's it.
Extremist settler organizations, Israeli shady tech companies like NSO that is responsible for the Pegasus spyware, lifting all sanctions on those companies and individuals. And number 3, allowing Israel.
Like, can you imagine losing this hard to a guy that uses the term Palestinian as a pejorative, as a slur, like on this issue? Trump was president 8 years ago. Why didn't he stop it back then? What are you talking about? Trump set the stage for October 7 and what Israel did in the aftermath of October 7. What are you talking about? Donald Trump's Abraham Accords, permanent recognition of the permanent annexation of Syrian territory, Golan Heights, the embassy move to Jerusalem, directly led to Palestinians feeling increasingly more isolated. Okay? He set the stage. Biden also continued it, didn't go back on any of those decisions, and then kept steadily rearming the Israeli government as it continued its genocide, while simultaneously going, oh man, we're just really working tirelessly around the clock for a ceasefire. Okay? American foreign policy is uniparty. It is bipartisan. Okay? American policy on Israel only goes in one direction. And Republicans do have a tendency to make things worse, at least historically. And I suspect that Trump will make things worse for what is to come down the line. But if the Democratic Party actually wanted to stop this because they cared about the Palestinians or the bloodshed or anything, if they cared about winning this election, they would have applied this pressure instead of Donald Trump. And they didn't.
A major chunk, a major land grab or land theft in the West Bank. So that might be the case. It checks out. The other thing is that this morning, until the very last minute, we're getting reports from Netanyahu saying that he's telling Bezalel Smotrich, no, don't worry. It's only going to be a pause. It's not the end of the war. We will resume the war again. And in return, Smotrich asking for, quote, forcing Gazan migration as one of his conditions, is that even if there is a ceasefire, even if the war ends, you need to maintain conditions in Gaza as hell on earth, make it as uninhabitable as possible, ban concrete and cement from going in like Israel did in 2014, prevent reconstruction, and then people will leave, will have no option but to leave or face death by starvation, cold, or disease. So that's
just on its face, the optics are insane. This dude is a real estate developer. Yeah, you do understand that that is deliberate, okay? Like, the fact that he sent this guy from Mar-a-Lago and not like a former State Department official that is going to be in his current cabinet or whatever is also by design. The fact that this person was de facto Trump, right? Like, this guy is Donald Trump. Stephen Witkoff was going to operate as though he is Trump, right? So Donald Trump sending him over is a fuck you, okay? Is a way to reassert dominance, to basically say, like, we are the ones who hold all the cards. That's number one. Number two, like, forcing Netanyahu to come and work on a Saturday. That is optically something that Democrats are terrified of doing, that Donald Trump would absolutely do. That's like a classic real estate, like shady real estate guy who's like, no, I'm the one with the dick, okay? I'm the one who holds all the cards, not you, okay? And they did that. They pushed for... They were the ones who actively, according to people involved in the deal-making process, they're the ones who finally actually pressured the one party that was stopping this deal from going through, Netanyahu. And I do think that there are side deals that they likely committed to in secret, and we will see what that looks like down the line. But for the time being, okay, if you think that Trump's pressure did not actually play a role, you are wrong. Even if it's purely performative, even if it was purely for optics, even if it was purely to start the new administration with a big W, okay? You have to recognize that Donald Trump read the room, saw that there was unimaginable amount of anger and resentment towards what the Americans were doing with our tax dollars, which, make no mistake, I do not think that Donald Trump is going to stop giving weapons to Israel, okay? He is, if anything, he's going to give more weapons to Israel than Joe Biden, if that's even possible. Okay? But understand that he basically, he played a very significant role in, you know, forcing Netanyahu to heel here, at least in the short term. So keep spamming. I agree with you on a lot, but giving Trump credit for this is insane. You can spam it all day, every day. Okay? I still fear that what will come next is going to be significantly worse. But in this moment, it was Trump's pressure. Okay? It's so funny because this reminds me of a time when I spoke about Donald Trump, giving Donald Trump credit for like how he dealt with the Korean affairs, where he basically was like, yeah, I will do the peace through strength stuff, right? But also simultaneously, he was like, I'm gonna take a sidestep here. I'm going to let the South Korean administration and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea get together and hash it out themselves. And I will, and at the time, the North Korean demands were to no longer do military training in the region, in a show of dominance, and he actually abided by that. And I remember Rachel Maddow getting very mad at Donald Trump, saying like he wants to suck and fuck Vladimir Putin, and also he wants to have gay sex with Kim Jong-un or whatever. And liberals kept going crazy over Russiagate narratives, consistently claiming that Donald Trump actually was doing the wrong thing and that we need to escalate military pressure on North Korea. And it was actually the right thing to do. Trump did the right thing there. It was one of the only instances where Donald Trump was correct on his foreign policy in a sea of horrible things that he did. There is no partisanship in this regard. Anyway, why were you trying to stop cussing? I mean, I was, but it's hard for me not to cuss here because, you know, you got a lot of people going crazy. Here's Washington Post's own reporting on this from Evan Hill. A diplomat briefed on the ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas credited progress in the talks, in part to the influence of President-elect Donald Trump, saying it was the first time there has been real pressure on the Israeli side to accept the deal. This is from Susanna Georgia, WAPO. A diplomat briefed on the ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas credited progress in the talks, in part to the influence of President-elect Donald Trump, saying it was the first time there's been real pressure on the Israeli side to accept the deal. Indirect talks between Israel and Hamas were deadlocked for months. The contours of the current deal suggested the Israeli negotiators offered concessions on issues that had previously impeded a breakthrough, according to the diplomat, who spoke in an interview Wednesday on the condition of anonymity to discuss the closed-door discussions. Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, has attended the talks in Doha, the Qatari capital. The negotiations also have been aided by Hamas's diminished position, the diplomat said. Hamas doesn't have the capacity to say no to anything. Since the October death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, the militant group's officials in Doha have held fewer high-level meetings and rarely used its official office in the Qatari capital, the diplomat added. What did Hamas get in the end of the deal? A chance of living? I'm so confused. Yes, an end to the genocide. And also getting Palestinian prisoners that have been permanently detained by Israel to be released from prison. And also, literally the same demands that they've had since the beginning. Yeah, they get they also don't get assassinated across the board. Because remember, Benjamin Netanyahu kept stating his goal was the complete dismantling of Hamas over and over again. The complete dismantling of Hamas. Hamas will never exist in the Gaza Strip. And instead of actually doing that, which was already something that Israeli generals openly stated was an impossible goal, by the way, some of those generals were removed from those positions too. Like, you had war criminals like Yoav Gallant, who are no longer a part of the war cabinet, no longer the defense minister, who is an out and about war criminal, who said the Palestinians are beasts, like we have to starve them. We have to not allow them to have electricity or whatever. Like, that guy was saying, there's no way that we can militarily end Hamas. It's like a ridiculous goal. It's not real. It's just a silly thing that Benjamin Netanyahu's repeating. Okay? That war criminal was correct in that assessment. Why is Trump doing the ceasefire? He can still allow Israel to annex the West Bank without the ceasefire. Israel cannot annex the West Bank while it's also simultaneously having its troops get blown up with IEDs and bathtub homemade rocket launchers in the Gaza Strip. Israel has to lick its wounds and re-up and rearm in order to do a full-blown permanent annexation of the West Bank.
On a potential hostage deal.
Do you agree that a permanent ceasefire in Gaza absolutely must include the release of those hostages?
Well, it must include it, because if it doesn't, there won't be a ceasefire for long. That is the linchpin of what's happened now. Hamas has been severely degraded, but these people, that include a number of American citizens, need to be home as soon as possible, and that will remain a priority in any engagement that we're involved in with regards to not just a ceasefire, but some permanent peace process.
Mark my words, Trump may have forced Netanyahu's hand on the ceasefire deal, but the incoming president will reward Israel with a recognition of his future annexations in the West Bank and through a normalization deal with Saudi Arabia. No, that's my assessment as well. That's what I also believe.
Process moving forward.
Now, we have been reporting that it is not unlikely that Marco Rubio would become the next Secretary of State. He's having a smooth day so far. We've been picking up some sound and clips for you and playing those when we can. But he is one of 6 people today who are in confirmation hearings, pulling Trump's vision potentially into place. And you see the imminence with which, particularly those people who will handle our diplomacy and our fighting forces, those people are very important all the time, but particularly now, if part of this deal is going to release hundreds of killers that we know of as terrorists in the Middle East back onto the open market for themselves. I want to bring in a man who knows this very well. He is the former U.S. ambassador to Israel, David Freeman. And Ambassador, you and I were together the day that Donald Trump in his first term moved the embassy, importantly, from a political location from some in the world to its home city, Jerusalem. As you watch this now, tie it all together for me, the journey that we've taken in the last 466 days since this war began.
Well, Harris, thanks for having me. And what I would say is that when, God willing, that first picture emerges of a hostage being reunited with his or her family, I will be in tears. 10 million Israelis will be in tears, and probably hundreds of millions of other people around the world will be in tears. It's been that traumatic and difficult, and my enduring thanks to my old friend who I knew could do this, President Trump, for getting this done. It's so important to so many people.
Look, I want to quote a guest that we had on a few moments ago with Kaylee Shahrazani. He said something that made such an impression on me. As long as Hamas is in power, war will never end. So he said whether the ceasefire potentially would last 42 days or whatever it would last, Hamas is going to do what it does until Hamas is no longer.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important point, because some people, I think, are misinterpreting this as some kind of a capitulation to Hamas or an agreement that Hamas can continue to rule the Gaza Strip. Well, President Trump, first of all, I was hearing his comment just in real time as you put it out. He put the words "never again" in capital letters, that never again will Hamas rule the Gaza Strip, and I think that's important. And when you think about this team that President Trump has assembled, of course, his own words themselves. You heard Mike Waltz earlier today say that the Hamas has to be decapitated. You heard your colleague Pete Hegseth testifying yesterday that he supported the.
Yeah, they're gearing up for. Okay, in 42 days. Okay, the phase 1 of this ceasefire agreement is going to be over. And what they're doing here is manufacturing consent for the aftermath of that process, where Benjamin Netanyahu will go back and be like, well, Hamas is still there. This is another thing that I also warned people about. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and act like this is a bad thing overall, because ultimately it's a good thing that there is a ceasefire. Okay. That is a good thing. That is not a bad thing. Any kind of ceasefire is a good thing. Okay. Like, what's the alternative? That we just keep letting Gaza get bombed over and over again, nonstop? Like, even if there is a 42-day respite from the bombing, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Okay. This is another thing that I pointed out to yesterday. Charles Lister, per U.S. intel, Hamas has recruited at least as many new fighters as Israel has killed since October 2023. That's long been inevitable, and they're likely more committed to an even less forgiving cause than before. To which I quote tweeted, I said, while this is an incredibly common thing that happens in every instance of Western intervention, I can't help but feel like it's partially being reported on to create the groundwork for permanent military action in Gaza out of security concerns post-ceasefire. So I think that all the conversations that you're having about people, all the conversations that you're having, that you're seeing on mainstream news, whether it be from the left or the right, whether it be from Fox News or other liberal outlets, about Hamas's resurgence is specifically to run defense for what is to come.
The killing of every single member of Hamas. You heard future Secretary Marco Rubio saying that there'll never be a ceasefire if Hamas stays in power. Brian Mast, who's the incoming leader of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, when he was asked, where do you stand on Hamas? He said, I stand on their throats. So there is no ambiguity here that there's no future for Hamas. And frankly, I think it's the recognition by Hamas that their days are numbered, that there is no future for them, that caused them to make a deal today that frankly, people had thought they agreed to 7 months ago, but apparently weren't willing to do. So I think this is all because of their recognition that with the incoming administration, they have no future.
Well, they cut it close. We're 5 days away. Can you just stay with me for a moment? There are two things that are playing out simultaneously that are a little unbelievable. So on the left of your screen in Tel Aviv, there is the celebration of hope and anticipation that hostages will soon be freed. On the right side, they are celebrating in Gaza. Let's listen to Gaza for a moment. Yeah, I was told we would have the sound of that. Let me know to the team when we do. Ambassador Friedman, what are they celebrating?
I wonder.
I mean,
what could they be celebrating? Maybe like a semblance, a crumb of hope that the genocide is over, even though it most likely is not. Maybe that they can have more humanitarian aid come in. Maybe they can go back to their homes or what remains of their homes. Maybe the fact that they don't have to constantly fear when they hear buzzing in the air that they're about to be eviscerated.
Probably being sold to them as some sort of a victory. And look, it's hard.
Be so for real? Not this crazy? What do you mean? Bros Delulu? Wait, you think that's not what they're celebrating? What do you think they're celebrating? Oh, I cannot wait to do more anti-Semitism. Oh, not you, Hasan. Like, I can't wait, brother. We are going to do so much anti-Semitism now. Oh, no. The fact that they... the fact that they have stopped the genocide for 1 second, the most moral military, means we can do more anti-Semitism.
It's hard for Israelis to watch the people, the Hamas supporters celebrating, but that celebration is going to be short-lived. I mean, it's, right now this is about getting the hostages back, and Israel's paying a high price to get them back. But, Israel's not agreeing to end the war. Hamas has no future, and I'm hoping, I'm skeptical, but I'm hoping that maybe some of them are celebrating the possibility that Hamas is coming to an end.
What an animal this guy is. David Friedman, former U.S. ambassador to Israel. He's like, I'm hoping they're celebrating for the right reasons. It's like, dude, you are such a ginormous piece of shit. Just a purely evil psychopath, dude. I hate these people so much. They're barely people. Animals, all of them. They better be celebrating the right things.
This, Hamas loses its leverage, and maybe someone can come in and rule the Gaza Strip, which is less malign. But I'm not a very good psychologist into the minds of these people.
No. I was hoping to get some audio, but now we have a little bit more light on the situation. They are on each other's shoulders and looking jubilant. And as you say, wait, we can hear some of it now.
Israel fears human rights organizations actually going into the Gaza Strip to show the full scale of the damage and the atrocities. So I think that they will probably do everything in their power to stop that from happening. I suspect that they will try to do everything in their power to ensure that this does not happen. The sad part is the bombing might not even stop. Yeah, I mean, the way that these things goes, the next 4 days are going to be bleak. Israel has a tendency to escalate the violence. Israel has a tendency to escalate the violence all the way until the very last moment. Okay? Oh, damn. My interview with Bernard Sanders actually made it to Daily Mail. That's cool. Bernie Sanders delivers scathing verdict on longtime ally Joe Biden as president prepares to leave office. Bernie Sanders said that Joe Biden's biggest failure as president was not being strong enough or able to communicate his economic policies to ordinary working-class Americans. While he claimed Biden's record on domestic policy was strong, Sanders told streamer Hasan Piker that the president fell short on his goals. He has not been the kind of leader and communicator that made the record understandable to the American people. Despite listing several things he felt Biden had done in his 4 years, including being unashamedly pro-labor, Sanders said that Biden had ultimately been a disappointment. The truth is, given where the American worker is today, it is simply not enough, he said. Sanders claimed Biden should have gone further on his progressive agenda, raising the minimum wage and expanding Medicare. The Vermont socialist even went as far as naming something Biden did poorly compared to Donald Trump. Biden has accomplished a lot, but he does not do what Trump does and identify enemies, he said. He said that while Trump tends to place the blame on migrants or transgender people, Biden refuses to use equally strong messaging on corporate greed. Uncle B. Trump considers executive order hoping to save TikTok from ban in U.S. law. This just in, statement from the mediators. Oh, from 2 minutes ago. Okay, I'm going to have Jeremy Scale on in a second to talk about this stuff. Hold on. I love when the Dems muzzled Tim Walz when he tried to be the fighter we needed. Yeah. I also told you, like, I'm not like a believer that TikTok will definitely get banned. I don't think that is the case, but hold on. Journalists saying the aftermath is inevitable. When it finally happens, do you think any consequences will unfold for Israel? I'll just say this. I'm talking to some journalists who have operated inside of Gaza, who are from Gaza, and I'm working already to potentially go in as well if there is ever an opportunity to do so. I'm just letting you guys know. In terms of going into Gaza, it is very dangerous, obviously, with how Israel operates in that area. But let's see if there's a way to safely do such a thing. Like I said, The key term here, the key phrase here is if it's safely. If it can be done safely, I will try to do it. All right, I'm going to call Jeremy now.